Welcome to Season 3 of the Canadian Powerlifting Podcast, the bi-weekly show that brings you the best of powerlifting in Canada. Our three co-hosts include Rhaea Stinn, holder of the highest equipped total in Canada, as well as owner of Unparalleled Training Centre in Moose Jaw, and co-owner of Inner Strength Products, Steve Cassioli, IPF world record holder and medalist, third strongest Canadian classic powerlifter of all time, and owner of Cassioli Strength and Conditioning. Lastly, Avi Silverberg, world bench press medalist, national team coach, and co-owner of MyStrengthBook.com. Today's episode starts right now.
This season of the Canadian Powerlifting Podcast is brought to you by MyStrengthBook.com. MyStrengthBook is a web-based platform for powerlifters to build workouts, plan training programs, and assess training metrics that lead to better performance on the platform. Tracking and analyzing training metrics allow you to uncover key trends and insights on what works for you and the precise variables that lead to greater success. Say goodbye to pen and paper tracking and hard-to-use spreadsheets. Say hello to MyStrengthBook. Sign up now for a free trial at www.mystrengthbook.com.
Hello and welcome back to the Canadian Powerlifting Podcast. You are listening to an episode.
That's true. This is definitely an episode. I mean,
there is an episode. We are recording it, and it's a fantastic one at that. We have a special out-of-country guest joining us. We have the one, the only, the Vanilla Gorilla. We have Blaine Sumner, who joined us, sat down with us for about 45 minutes. We talked about a lot of great things, powerlifting things. Obviously, we all know who Blaine is, so we don't really go too much into his background, but we do talk about his recent background in terms of the last 6 to 12 months. What has he been up to? What's sort of his approach to training now? Because a lot has changed in the last year as he's dealt with injury, as he has prepped for competitions that are fairly close back to back. And so we talk about some really interesting approaches that he's been taking to his training that he hasn't done ever before. So it's quite an interesting conversation because here's a guy who's at the top of his game, has been competing for a long time, and is experimenting with new things. So a fantastic conversation around his training, his new methodologies. And we also get into a lot about his coaching as he's taking on more athletes that he coaches, and he has a great website that has templates of various programs that he's written. And Rhaea actually joined us for a couple minutes because Blaine just started coaching Rhaea on her prep to the World Games. So a very fantastic episode, not only learning about what Blaine does in training and some of the new things, but also his approach to the world of coaching. So can't wait to play this recording here for you. But first, we are just going to do a quick recap of the last couple weeks. Steve, what do you got on the go? How's training going for you?
Training's going pretty well. I mean, this upcoming week will be my third week for my world's training block in June. I'm actually not doing my own programming for this. I have a coach. So
man, I can't wait to hear. Tell us more, Steve. Tell us more.
I don't know. Do we have time for that?
yeah, man.
We got time.
So just taking a little different approach. So my boss at work, he's doing my programming. Just getting an outside look there and changing a few things up. My blocks are looking a little bit different. I mean, I'm still doing the non-specific stuff right now, but a little different, focusing on weaknesses, and I might have a nice pull at Worlds.
Man, that's fantastic. Now, for those of you who don't know, Steve comes from a strength and conditioning background, works in strength and conditioning. So obviously probably working with an expert of his domain, I would assume. And what was sort of their main reason around offloading your program into somebody else's hands?
I just see the work we do, I don't know, in the gym with other clients and stuff. And I think he just has, just with this experience, I mean, he's been in the industry for about 15, 20 years working with everyday clients, professional athletes. And I mean, I think he has a well enough understanding of, how to get strong. And I think, I know we've kind of talked back and forth of different ideas and things I should add, things I should maybe focus on a little bit more here and there. And I like the things he said, so I trust him, and I'm gonna give it a go.
And yeah, man, let's check in and see how things are going in a few weeks. And I know that before the podcast, we quickly chatted about your squat. You're doing a lot of sort of non-specific-ish type stuff right now. Lots of front squats, high bar pause squats. You're not doing a single comp squat throughout your week of training. So just a good time to do some variety post nationals, but obviously I'm assuming you'll get back into the competition movements eventually. So let's check in close to the meet and see how that's going. Ryan, give us an update. How things going?
Good. I've kind of changed things up as well. Still doing my own programming, but taking some inspiration from Blaine, as I mentioned later in the podcast, his Arnold program he wrote. And going down to just one squat and one deadlift and 2 bench days, keeping the volume really high. Like I think last week I did about 14,000 kilos of squat volume on one day. This week it'll probably be about 15.5 or 16,000 squat on Tuesday here. And then about 50,000 kilos total volume over 4 days of training. And then I have 2 accessory days as well. So I do about 18 to 24 sets of rows or, back specific work, and then some biceps and triceps just for good measure, and then some more random stuff like sled pushes and single-handed farmer carries, stuff like that, just training some other areas. So it's kind of a big change. I've been a very specific style training for a long time, so, and also higher frequency, so big change, but feels really good. I feel pretty strong for only doing this for a few weeks. I feel like I'm probably going to have to do a deload in a week or two. But so far, it's interesting because, you squat and then you get 6 days to recover. So, I actually feel good about day 5 after it. And then like the day of my squat day, it's like my knees start hurting. It's like they haven't squat in a week and now they're starting to get sore. So I might need to add like a midweek like body weight squat just to get the knees feeling better. But it's been fun experiment. So we'll see if I stick with it, I guess.
I love it, man. I just love the process. I love hearing about, I guess that's the theme for the podcast, just trying new things. And even guys who have been in the game a long time, still trying to find what works and what continues to work. And, what you did 5 years ago or even a year ago might not be applicable today because, it's a different context.
It's not even that what I did 5 years might not be good. I think I look at it like just a change of stimulus, right? A muscle confusion thing, little P90X for you.
Just going off that, I think, the biggest thing is when you've been training for a long time and doing the same stuff over and over, I think just having that variety and change just keeps you like mentally like in the game, You're like, oh, I've something new from like week to week, and that just keeps you on, and you can still incorporate that, like you said, like comp specific stuff, but just having those variety of movements and just something different, it just keeps you going.
Man, I can't even get to tell you. I started after nationals doing some walking dumbbell lunges. I couldn't even do walking dumbbell lunges with 10 pounds aside. It was burning by the end.
I want to see an Instagram post of that. I need to see walking lunges in your next Instagram post.
No problem, man. But the weird part is I'm working out in a global gym. I'm in Chile. I don't know how to say, can you take a video of my walking dumbbell lunges in Spanish? That's the problem. You're just going to have to believe me, Steve.
Look it up, man. Honestly, Google Translate that.
I'm going to have to get Google Translate out. But yes, this week I'm proud to say I was up to 30-pound walking dumbbell lunges, and I wasn't quivering so much. So hashtag new stimulus, but that's right. My training, I just found out that the Chilean Nationals is in July. So I think I'm going to train for that. I think I'm going to do a 3 lift. I do a 3 lift every once in a while. But yeah, I think I'm going to do it. It'll be a weird timing because I go off to Worlds, coaching at Worlds, and that's basically 2 weeks of when I am not going to train whatsoever in late June. And then I'm going to come back and I'll have about a week of training, week and a half or something, and then I'll do a 3 lift. Chilean Nationals as a guest lifter, already got to go ahead if I want to do it. So I'm going to keep that on the horizon, and that's about it. What do you guys say? Should we roll this episode?
Let's roll.
Yeah, man.
Let's do it. Looking forward to this. Blaine Sumner. This week on the podcast, we're sitting down with Blaine Sumner. We're super excited to have you on the podcast, man. And for those who don't know who Blaine is, I'll just give you a little bit of a background. He has the IPF world record squat, IPF world record bench, and total. He just competed at the 2017 Arnold Sports Festival, where he totaled 1,272.5 kilos. That was the all-time best single-ply equipped total in the IPF. He holds the heaviest all-time squat at 505, heaviest all-time bench at 410, and he has a 690 Wilks, and that's all in single ply. And unbelievable athlete, and we're super excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you, boys.
So let's just jump in, man. As I said, a lot of people probably know who you are. Why don't you just give us a little bit of an update of what's going on the last 12 months, 6 to 12 months. A lot of us know that you competed at the World Championships in November. You did really well. You won that championship. I think that was your first time winning an IPF Worlds. So maybe you can talk about that. But just sort of tell us the last 6 to 12 months. What have you been up to? I know you've been battling some injuries. Just give us sort of an update.
So the last 6 months, I won the Worlds last November in Orlando, and I was super pumped about that. It'd been a long fight, been a long time coming. I had bombed out of the equipped nationals in 2013 and 14 due to squat depth. So kind of lost my chances there to compete at Open Worlds. And then 2015 got second place. Couldn't finish my last deadlift, which would have given me the win. So felt like it's been a long time coming. It was really good to finally get that monkey off my back. And then, I had a great time at the Arnold.
So just back to the Worlds, like I know you've accomplished a ton in the sport, and I've already sort of detailed a little bit of what you've done. Would you say that was like the highlight of your career so far, doing the kind of, just because of the adversity getting there? Was that sort of your highlight of your career so far?
Yeah, I'd say for sure. I mean, it's always fun to hit the big numbers at the Arnold in front of the crowd, but getting that World Championship was a huge win for me.
For sure. And then just tell us how you were, because you finished Worlds, and then leading up to the Arnold's there, I know that you had some injuries or something, and you sort of had to switch up your training. What was going on there? Yeah,
it was kind of a wild meet prep for the Arnold. After Worlds in November, I took about 8 weeks off from anything with a barbell. I had a lot of my SI injury was what was the worst. I mean, it was plaguing me on squatting and deadlifting every time. My hips were feeling really beat up, my knees, shoulders. And I had kind of realized I'd never really taken a gung-ho full break from training in years. So I decided to take 8 weeks off from barbell stuff. And then it was going to give me about 6 weeks, I think, to get ready for the Arnold. And then I had a bunch of stuff come up with work. And I feel like I had maybe 4 to 5 true training weeks for the Arnold, and ended up having the best meet of my life.
I was going to say, Blaine, in those like 8 weeks that you kind of just took off from any like barbell movements, like what kind of movements were you doing like during that 8-week period? Were you still incorporating like irregular squat, like accessories, bench accessories, deadlift accessories?
No, very, very much off from anything sort of powerlifting training related. The biggest thing is I was doing a ton of kettlebell and ab work. The goal was to kind of train new movement pattern to work on my deadlift lockout, since I feel that's what holds my total back significantly more than anything else. So I did a ton of kettlebell work. I don't know if it worked or not. Doesn't seem like my lockout's any better, but muscle or powerlifting movement wise, off of everything.
Man, that's so incredible. And like it seems like a lot of people who might be listening might think you would have this massive detraining effect, especially which wasn't the case. I mean, evidenced by the fact that you did your heaviest, total to date at the Arnold. So what are some sort of reflections or reasons why you think that was the case?
Yeah, I think everybody throughout their training career is going to have kind of aha moments or epiphanies and realize like, I didn't know that. And that was for sure one of mine, because I was always under the impression that how hard I trained and how frequently I trained and how much I pushed it, never taking a break, day in, day out, year in, year out, was why I was successful. And I'm sure that is part of it. If you had told Blaine a year ago, like, hey, before the Arnold, you should start with taking 8 weeks off from doing anything and then try and get ready in 4 or 5 weeks, I'd be like, that's a terrible idea. You'll have horrible meat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so after that 8 week period that you took off, so like leading up into the Arnold for that like 6 week period, obviously we're getting into the barbell movements again. Like, didn't the weights feel like super heavy to you? Because I mean,
yeah, when I first started back, the weights were terribly heavy. Like, I mean, pathetically, embarrassingly heavy. It was like I'd get under a squat or a bench press, and I'd be like shaking, like this is not right. I'd say it. I mean, it took about 4 weeks until I felt like I kind of had my feet back under me, like, oh, I'm close to where I was, and then kind of had a fifth week, 2 weeks before the Arnold, and was like, maybe I'm not as strong as I felt like I was in training before Worlds or something, but the weights I was handling were getting really similar, and then it just worked since I was recovered and healthy.
Did you like jump right back into that frequency, or did you kind of like slowly, build up like 1 day a week squat, 1 day a week bench, one deadlift, or did you kind of just jump into full swing and kind of picked up where you left off?
So from about 2013 through the first half of 2016, so quite a few years there, I was doing a ton of frequency. And then about halfway through 2016, and when I say a lot of frequency, I'm talking 4 times a week, squat, bench, deadlift. And then halfway through 2016, I kind of changed all that. I was feeling too beat up. My elbows were getting too beat up from squats, and that would affect my bench press too much. My low back was feeling just fatigued from squats and deadlifts, and it felt like it was holding both of them back. So just felt like a change, and went back to doing more of a squatting and deadlifting once a week and benching twice a week. So when I ramped back up for the Arnold, that's what I did. I squatted once a week, deadlifted once a week, and benched twice a week.
Man, I want to bring Ryan in this conversation because it's just hearing you talk right now. It just has so many parallels to some of Ryan's experience. And Ryan actually just wrote a fantastic article on injuries. And he was just saying, early on in his career, he just thought, like, man, full force ahead all time, sort of ignore the signs of your body. You just, if you can't take time off, it's going to get you sort of weaker, if you do that. And then also just in terms of the training frequency, what you're saying, I know Ryan, has been upwards of, higher frequencies on the lifts, but now has kind of brought back since nationals, back to about 1 day a week. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts on just hearing Blaine talk about his experience?
Well, I mean, part of the reason I kind of looked at doing the lower frequency was because of Blaine, and I looked at I bought his Arnold program, which clearly he didn't follow very closely, but I took it and I kind of used it as inspiration. There were some movements in there I couldn't do, so. But I decided to go down to 1 day a week squat, 1 day a week deadlift, and 2 benches, just like give it laid out in there, and try and see how that feels. Because like you, I was squatting 4 days a week, deadlifting 3 days, and benching 3 days, and I felt like every workout I felt like I was trying to save something for the next workout. Whereas now it's like I'm squatting once a week, I'm doing everything I can that day. I got 6 more days to recover for it. So it's been a real change to my training to kind of do that, but it's been a really refreshing to go that route. So it's very interesting because I kind of stole the ideas from you, but no, it's been the same idea, pushing through injuries and never taking that time off that you really think you probably should take off, but you don't think it's worth it to take it off. And that was kind of what led to my big injury back in 2011 or so.
And I think the other thing that Blaine, you were saying that sort of struck a chord with me is that strength is pretty resilient, like, especially if you have, so many years under your belt, like you're not just going to all of a sudden wake up next week or after 4 weeks, or in your case, 8 weeks, and just be completely and utterly, useless and weak. Like, your body is going to hold on to that strength, especially the longer you train. Was that sort of your mentality, doing something like that?
Yeah. And after I saw how quickly I bounced back, that's what, made me realize it is people with long, many years of training history, I'm sure can take weeks off and come back and be as strong as they ever were in a short period of time. You know, if you take someone who's been competing for a year or two and they take 8 weeks off, it's not going to be the same effect at all. Something too that kind of crossed my mind when I had started my training again from the Arnold and felt like I rebounded very well is I don't know if there's any science or anything to back this up, but it almost feels like your body can generate momentum in terms of strength gains or body weight gains. And, you know, when you're at that point where you're training 90% every week and beating your head into the wall, and I'm sure you guys have kind of followed my training a few years ago when I was squatting over 1,000 pounds, like every single week for weeks and weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to, I felt like that's what I had to do. But then, going to the Arnold, once I back off and you start ramping up again, I'd never in years haven't had a few weeks there where I'd like make significant increases in weight. And I feel like there's some kind of momentum effect there where, here's where I was. I'd always trained right here. I took a step back and now I'm building back up, and you kind of get past it a little bit.
And yeah, it's just, I hear lifters all the time just are scared, like even just like to take one day off when they're sick or something. And it's just like so ridiculous, like to think that all of a sudden one day you're just going to wake up and be weak. But yeah, let's just talk about that. You in this training in 2016, like you're squatting, 90% singles and, like super heavy week in and week out, but there's still guys out there like that who, and like Ray Williams comes to mind. And it just seems like, like I remember after Worlds last year, like he was doing 900 2 weeks after Worlds. And I'm just like, man, like, how is that even possible? Like I couldn't do that. And clearly, like, I'm not on his level, but it's just mind blowing to think when you see guys do that. Like, are you sort of skeptical now, or are you like, oh, that's kind of working for him, I can't really say too much? But like, so what would your advice be?
Yeah, I think my advice is there's no one right answer for any of it. I had success for, trying to go in and squat over 1,000 pounds every week. Ray's clearly had success with, hitting his 900 plus every single week. I'm sure you can find lots of examples of world-class world record holders who are training at that 90% every week. And then I'm sure on the flip side, you can find guys who are hitting 1 or 2 heavy squat sessions a month and are world-class. So I think the answer is going to be different for everybody, and you have to find what that answer is going to be.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's really great advice. So you did the Arnolds, and then talk about your training now going up to World Games, which you're competing at, which is kind of cool because Ryan's going to be there at World Games competing with Rhaea. And what's your training looking like now? There's kind of a long period now, not that short, sort of like quick turnaround from Worlds to Arnolds now. You kind of have this long break. So what's the plan?
Yeah. So again, if you'd asked me a year ago, the week after the Arnold had been like, oh man, I need to get in my gear. I need to be squatting 1,050 pounds this week. I need to be benching 8 something this week. And so it really, really opened my eyes. One approach that I haven't taken in many, many years in terms of improving my equipped lifts is targeting specific muscles, and not targeting them in a powerlifting sense, but in terms of, if my lockout's weak in the bench press, instead of doing movement focused exercises for the lockout, think about doing muscle focused exercises for the lockout. So, I would always, and I still believe this is the best way, but I go back to beating my head into the wall doing the same thing for years. Like if my lockout's weak in the bench press, well, I'm going to do things that are going to work this right here. And now I've taken a step back and been like, okay, I'm not going to worry about the movement. What muscle is making me go from here to here? So I think as of now, we have like 16 weeks before the World Games. I've spent almost all my prep since the Arnold with a guy who's like a bodybuilding trainer. And I'll spend another 2, 3, 4 weeks with him just to – I've wanted to put on some more size and body weight, and then just take a different approach temporarily to work on muscles before I go back to my gung-ho prep for the World Games, where I'm going to be, going back to thinking about the movements.
So I've seen some very interesting movements from you on Instagrams lately. So I'm curious about a couple of them. So I saw like your rounded back rack lockouts. Those look super comfortable, but like, are you just trying to like work that lockout on the deadlift, or just work the upper back musculature?
Yeah, I mean, they're a terrible movement. And this, so I guess to preface it a little bit, this bodybuilding trainer, I took my wife to him. She does figure, and there's nobody around her who has any sort of that expertise. So I took her to him since I'd known about him, and I got to know him through taking my wife to see her. And he comes from a wrestling background. He's coached wrestling and wrestled. His boys have wrestled. So he has a very, very unique perspective of understanding bodybuilding, but he also has a very unique perspective of understanding the human body and movements. So you take someone who understands muscles, how to get stronger, bigger, and how the human body functions and works and leverages. And it's like, he has a very unique perspective. So to answer your question about the rounded back deadlifts, is I asked him to take a look at my deadlift and like, why do you think I miss them? Because going back to what I was saying, if I'm weak at the top, well, what have I always worked on? Well, like top end stuff. And so I told him, I was like, break it down and tell me what muscles you think are weak, why I can't lock it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he says, he thinks it upper back, and that exercise where the rounded back, we start with the rounded back. And I mean, it's working that entire erector chain. In a sense, I'm trying to lock out with shittier form, like starting the exercise in a more compromised position. And so, yeah, that answers your question.
Yeah. So it's kind of something you're going to stick with for the next little while. It's been pretty interesting seeing some of these movements, but I've always had some questions there. Like the hack squat you posted up the other day with the chest supported hack squat or whatever.
Yeah.
Looks like another fun one.
Yeah. It's terrible. Again, if a year ago I'd have been like, oh, I got to do my powerlifting stuff. And now after the Arnold, I've realized like, well, I don't need to be doing my competition movements 20 weeks out. I was like,
sure,
take a different approach, learn some stuff, hit some muscles in a different way that I haven't, maybe add some size and hypertrophy. But those chest supported hack squats, that's just another thing. This guy who understands the human body, movement, leverages muscles, like it's a very strange way to use a hack squat, but I've never, I've tried high bar squats. I've tried front squats. I've never found anything that like destroys my quads in that way. So
yeah, that's cool, man. That's I actually saw in addition to sort of the specific exercises that you're doing, you're experimenting with different methods like drop sets and things like that. That's something that you haven't done in a while, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and that comes more to him from that bodybuilding type background. It's so funny. I'm so I have an engineering background. And so I'm so analytical in how I program my stuff. Like it's like 5 sets of 10 or 5 sets of 12. And like you try and find a weight that's good for that. And I go to him and it's like, okay, we load up the whole stack and we'll do 8 reps and then, not counting, but you're just going until failure and then some assisted reps and then some drop sets. And it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting to hear like a guy that your size to say that you want to even get bigger. Do you find that is a limiting factor? Like I know like from talking to Kelly, like a few years back, he was just like, I have to make a commitment to get bigger. Like I'm only 330 right now. Like a lot of these guys are 350, 360, 370. Like, do you still find that to be like a challenge, is to like, just to be that big you got to get bigger?
Yeah, it's horrible. And to, we all want to get to that next level. And I know for me to kind of hit some of these numbers that I really want, I'm going to have to get a little bigger. You guys have been around long enough that you'll remember this, but back when Brian Siders was the king, I think he weighed like 330. And that was what I'm sure Ryan will probably remember way better than me, but most of the heavyweights were kind of the biggest guys who were still very good lifters were around that like 330 range. And then it's just like everything else with powerlifting, times are changing. Ray and Jezza are up over 400. Kelly used to be 300, and you've seen how much his lifts have gone up since adding that body weight. So it's just it's one of those things. The times are changing, and I've said my goal is to squat that 1,200 pounds, and I know that adding some extra body weight is gonna definitely help with that.
Now, is this all in the chicken shakes?
Mostly yes.
So just curious, like how many calories are in one of those shakes?
So each time I do a shake, I do my like chicken shake in one bottle and then a sweet potato shake in the other, and combined they're close to 1,200 calories combined.
So no lies on this, Blaine. Your chicken and steak shake, how close were you to throwing up?
Close. Very close.
You could see the grimace on your face. Ray is like, go watch that video. There's no way he enjoyed that shake.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Is it just a means to an end to get the calories in, or is it just like you just kind of like the show of it now, or do you just hate chewing?
It's a means to an end, and I know everyone's gonna laugh or not believe it, but for being like nearly 400 pounds now, I do not have an appetite. I chew one meal a day. Like I tried to do the whole like chicken and beef and rice and eating my meals, and it takes me like 30-45 minutes to get a meal down because I'm just like and then by the time that's over, now it's like you wait another hour and it's time to eat again. So I have no appetite. I have an ability to chug. So I was like, well, that'll be the solution.
So like, have you put any thought into like, okay, like 10 years from now, you're, retired, you're done with powerlifting. Like how are you going to go back to actually like eating now?
I don't know, but see, I like a simple life, and it is great for me because like whenever I'm done trying to do all this powerlifting stuff, like my fridge is so clean and empty of clutter. Like it's so easy to weigh out my meals. It takes 10 seconds to consume a gigantic meal. It's great.
That's awesome.
So now, when you're like at a meet, like would you like shake one of these things up like prior to going squat or between lifts?
No, I haven't gone that far as to bring them to meets yet.
Why don't we talk about some of the stuff that you're doing in powerlifting related to coaching? Because I know that you have a great website and you're taking one-on-one athletes, but you also have a number of programs that you're sort of releasing, templated programs. Tell us how sort of business is going and sort of some of your athletes and what's happening with that.
Yeah, it's really good. I guess I've been not advertising, but taking on coaching clients for a couple of years now. Met my wife, and she's big time into marketing and sales, and was like, you could have like a great business here if you pushed it. And so I was always like not interested, whatever, and kind of took her advice and was really surprised at the response and how well it took off. So yeah, I offer three main things on my site: the canned, the ready to run programs, the 100% custom programs, and then the coaching. I don't know if you're getting into this or not, but Rhaea came to me before their nationals and inquired about the coaching. It lit my eyes up because it's so awesome to do the coaching, and the majority of my clients are people without big names or accomplishments yet, and you have someone like her come to you, and it's like, yeah, absolutely, this is going to be it's way more fun and fulfilling.
So we got Rhaea on the podcast mic now, so let's bring Rhaea into the conversation. So we're just talking about Blaine's coaching, and we just found out that you're now working with Blaine. So it's only been a couple weeks since nationals. So how's the actual training going?
Well, I was just saying to Ryan this afternoon, I had full gear on today. I did triples, full gear. I'm like, I think this is the strongest I've ever felt 3 weeks after a meet, because the Monday we got back, I started on my programming, and
that's sweet. So like, tell us a little bit about the change up, like from some of the stuff you've been doing. Like obviously it's only been 3 weeks, but like obviously you're looking for a new methodology. Is that sort of the reason? What was the main impetus behind seeking Blaine out?
Yeah, just a change, new set of eyes to look at things, I think. And so far in the last 3 weeks, I think bench has been probably the biggest change. Well, we're changing things in everything, basically. I don't know how to lift anymore. Every email, there's something new that I have to change. So
sweet. So Blaine, what are you kind of noticing with Rhaea that are sort of rooms for improvement? I mean, like, it's so cool because I think it takes a special coach to work with somebody at a high level, because it's taking somebody already at the elite level. It's sort of scary, and it's sort of challenging at the same time. And you sort of want to change things, but you sort of know there's like a formula a little bit that they've already kind of got to some level of success with. So sort of how did you actually start that process?
Yeah, that's a perfect question. So coaching someone like Rhaea is so much more fun and fulfilling than it is to coach someone who's very new, because someone who's very new, there's there's so much to change that it's hard to know where to start. With Rhaea, like, you have a world-class lifter in all 3 lifts already, and it's like, let's just try and make a little change here, a little change there. And it's you can really focus on more I'm going to say like the 5th percent, or the 2% that's going to take her from here to here. Whereas if like someone who's newer, you have like 90% of that to work with. With her now, it's like tiny little changes that are going to make the difference in bringing her to the next level. The squat, we made a little change. She had some balance issues there at nationals, coming backwards. So we made a little change to her squat form there. But she's strong. We just keep getting her stronger. Maybe make little tweaks. The bench has been really good because she has like unbelievable leverages to be just an insane bench presser. So we changed some stuff with her foot width, her foot placement. Her arch is insane. She's obviously very strong. And so we've been raw the first 3 weeks after nationals, and this will be your first week in gear. So I feel like the bench shirt is kind of my specialty. So getting some things changed now, and this will be your first week in the shirt, and I'm super excited to see what we can do with that there.
Yeah, I'm pumped for the bench press for sure. Especially when like you have somebody who knows something about bench shirts. It's kind of a different game,
My bench rack height's gone down 3 since in the last 3 weeks. Just playing with my hand position and then my change in setup.
Cool. You got a lot on your plate, like full-time work and also the coaching business and trying to train for yourself. So
yeah, balance is exactly right, and finding the rhythm is exactly right too. So my career has to come first. That's what pays the bills, puts food on the table, all that. And my training is very, very close second priority, because that's that's what makes me happy. It's what I strive for. And then just my free time in there. So nights after training or first thing in the morning, when I get up, is usually when I get to my training business stuff. And then I kind of tune out from all that normally from when I start work in the morning which is 6:30 a.m. until I'm done training at night, which is 9 p.m. And then just fit a little bit of the training stuff on either side of that. My wife is just as busy as I am and super supportive of doing it all. So I have all the support there to do that.
And we mentioned before we started recording, but Kelly Branton's coming down. This episode will be released after Kelly comes. I don't know if it was a secret or something, but so Kelly's coming down to visit, and he's going to do some sessions with you. How did that all happen, and what do you guys got planned?
Yeah, I'm super excited about it, and not a secret or anything like that. So he's got Bench Worlds there in Killeen, Texas on April 22nd, I think, somewhere there around there. So after he wins Classic Bench Worlds there, I believe he's renting a car and driving up to Oklahoma City. So it's not a super short drive because Texas is a massive, massive state, but it's not too, could be further. So he's driving up to Oklahoma City. I think he'll get in on a Sunday afternoon or something. I told him I got to work Monday, so
he's on his own.
He's on his own. I'll probably come home and all my food's going to be gone, but that's okay. So we'll hit a squat session on Monday. I'm not sure my plan. I'm not sure his plan. I know he'll be getting fairly close there to Worlds, to Raw Worlds. But yeah, it'll just be good. We train with the same kind of intensity, and it'll definitely be a good training session.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And I just got to tell a story because it's kind of one of my favorite sort of memories is in 2015 Worlds, Ryan and I were coaching Kelly, and that was the first time that he podiumed at Worlds. He came third behind Ray and yourself. And I don't think a lot of people at that time, like internationally, maybe knew who Kelly was, or people sort of knew him, but like he was just coming up. And like I just remember this cool moment where like you and Ray shook his hand. You're just like, "Welcome to the club, man." And it was just so cool. And then everybody took a picture. I was just like, "Man, we got Kelly here, like just next to Blaine and Ray. Like this is crazy that this happened."
Yeah, he's a monster now. Does he have the second biggest raw total now, or does Jezza?
Yeah, I think I put up 10-17, I think, recently.
Kelly has a huge bench to go along with that squat.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's cool. We'll watch for all the videos that come out of you and Kelly squatting. make sure to make a slow motion chicken shake video. Both of you guys chugging a shake.
Yeah, you got to
I
get
think
Kelly
we will.
chugging one for sure.
If he makes a mess, he's cleaning it up.
Yeah, I think he probably.
I hired a media guy from Dallas to come up and film it, so we should get some good stuff from it.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. That's such a great idea. Blaine, you said that before we recorded that you were willing to give away to our listeners one of the custom templates programs on your website. Can you just talk about what that is? And we'll do a draw, and one of our listeners is gonna be able to walk away with that program.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 100% custom program is truly 100% custom. There's no cookie cutter to it. Everything is selected based on responses that I get from the athlete. So any time duration, but we'll cap it at 16 weeks at the most. And everything from exercise selection, sets, reps, selecting everything based on your weak points, training history, how far the meet is, everything like that will be customized. So
let's just get it straight. So this isn't a template. This isn't a program. Like, this is like working with Blaine.
Yeah. There'll be no like feedback, week to week or month to month feedback. Just I'll take I have a set of questions that I'll have to ask at the beginning and get those back, write the custom program and send it on their way.
Man, that's awesome. That's a great gift, and we really appreciate that. So we'll do the draw. We'll make sure that we'll let our listeners know how to enter that draw. But why don't you just tell everybody sort of what your website is and your Instagram and how people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I do almost all my posting of training and life and all that on my Instagram. Search my name, Blaine Sumner, or my username is the Vanilla Gorilla 92. And then also have my website where I have all my custom plans, the ready to run programs, coaching, contact form, and that's just blainesumner.com.
Cool. Thanks, Blaine. We really appreciate you having me on the podcast, and we'll stay in touch, and we'll keep watching. We'll watch for the videos of you and Kelly. I can't wait to see that video you mentioned.
Yeah, you bet, man.
All right, we'd like to thank Blaine for coming onto the podcast. Blaine has decided to give away 100% raw custom program. So that meaning you're not getting any cookie cutter.
100% raw. Start over.
What is 100% raw, Steve?
I don't even know what I was thinking.
What is that?
I was
100% raw federation.
I was thinking of this one program, so I'm like 100%, and I'm like the raw one. So that's what just came to my head.
Steve, let's get it together and introduce this properly.
Oh, fuck.
Blaine Sumner is giving
be
away.
professional.
What's he giving away?
All right. Oh fuck. 1 second. 1 second, please. 1 second. All right. We'd like to thank Blaine for coming onto the podcast. Blaine is giving away a custom program. So this means you're not getting any cookie cutter program. He's going to be taking you on as a client for, I think he said, up to 16 weeks max. So you'll be working with him. The initial email, he said, he's going to lay out why are you laughing?
Get it together, Steve. He's going to build a custom program for you based upon
that's what I'm
the
saying.
survey. You're saying you're working with them. You're not really working with them. Come on.
All right.
You are.
So if you want to sign up for that, go to our website, click on contest, and fill in the form. Website is CanadianPowerliftingPodcast.com. Click on contest, fill it out, and enter it for the win. We'll draw that on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So you can remember that, Cinco de Mayo. We will do it in the draw. Abby doesn't know what Cinco de Mayo is.
Or if you want to remember it because it's my dad's birthday, you can remember that as well, May the 5th.
Or it's the day after May the 4th, which is the Universal Star Wars geek holiday.
And everybody, for those of you who don't know, of course Ryan knows that. Of course.
May the 4th be with you, buddy.
Steve, what a great prize. Hey, Steve?
That is awesome.
So
you can check
good.
him out on Instagram, Vanilla Gorilla, and also his website as well if you guys want any more of the custom programs. He has a bunch of those online.
BlaineSumner.com.
All right, everybody. Fantastic. Pretty good to have an international celebrity guest, powerlifter. And we'll see you guys next time.
It was all I could do not to laugh that last.
You've been listening to the Canadian Powerlifting Podcast, the podcast that brings you the best of powerlifting in Canada, hosted by Stephen Cassioli, Rhaea Stinn, and myself, Abby Silverberg. Please follow us on Instagram and check out our website for some great free powerlifting content at www.canadianpowerliftingpodcast.com. If you like what you heard today, please rate our podcast on iTunes and don't forget to listen to every other Thursday for a brand new episode.